Hello everybody and welcome to another Destiny build video. This build is absolutely insane as it gives you the opportunity to use literally every void buff in the game. It is absolutely insane. Technically it will let you use every void debuff as well. So this means you're going to have Void Overshield up all the time. You're going to have Volatile Rounds by making enemies volatile and everything of that sort. You're also going to be able to go invisible. You'll be able to get all your health back through Devour. So just right there is already great. Of course, you'll be able to weaken through your abilities such as your Smoke Bomb and suppression via your Tether. So technically, we'll be able to take advantage of everything, but our main thing we are going to be taking advantage of is the elemental buffs for Void, which is, of course, Invisibility, Volatile Rounds, Overshield, and Devour. So this build is incredibly insane. As you're able to see, I am just going through, everything is becoming volatile, everything is exploding. A ton of enemies can't even hit me because I'm just floating in the air. And I obviously will have Overshield coming on. Every kill gives me a massive chunk to my health bar. I'm generating orbs to make it even better. It is just an extremely good build. And as you can see, I'm here on Mythic difficulty testing it out, and it's doing phenomenal. As you can see, I am just clearing out the room, not really having any issues. And even if I get into a scare, it is so easy to bail myself out that I don't even have to really worry about it. So now I'm going to show you how to replicate this build, make it for yourself, so that way you can have this in your mythic missions or in anything of your choosing. So to craft our build, we're going to start with our exotic of choice. Our exotic is going to be Gyrfalcons, which is going to allow us so that when our invisibility ends, our void weapons will gain volatile rounds. Now, while you are invisible, if you defeat a combatant with a finisher, all of your weapons will gain bonus damage, and you and nearby allies will also gain a reserve overshield and improved class ability regen. These reserve overshields will be deployed when you use a class ability. Now, while all of that is pretty great, and obviously if you can take advantage of that, do so. Our main thing here is going to be that our void weapons gain volatile rounds when we emerge from being invisible. That is the key part for this entire build. And that's going to be how we get volatile rounds. Now for our stats, you're going to want to have a 100 in weapons. This is going to increase your damage by 15% against all enemies that aren't bosses. So this is obviously going to help and allow us to just, eradicate enemies a lot quicker, a lot easier. It's also going to help boost our handling and specifically and especially our reload, which is going to help us reload whenever we need to get back in the fight. And the reason why we're going to want our weapons at 100, or honestly, if you could even get it farther than that, then maybe you'll want to, but 100 is a good area to reach. But then we don't really use our abilities all too much. While our melee is probably the most important as it will weaken enemies, our grenade isn't that important, so we can leave it even at a low stat such as this, which is at 29. Even our class ability is not very important. It is probably more important than the other two, which would be melee and grenade, but class is not going to be as important. So even just having this at around a 60 like I do to 70, 80, or even 90 would be phenomenal. And obviously our super and health are also not the most important stats. Now, health is a pretty good one as long as you go up past 100. So if you get it towards 200, that makes it even better because that will give you more shields, meaning you'll have more health and you can take more hits, and it will also help your shields recharge much more quickly. So it is a pretty good stat to have only if you go past 100, and weapons is a great stat to have at 100. So my full recommendation for stats would be weapons at 100. Literally just around it, like even if it's 98 or 102, then I would have your health anywhere between 101 to 200, and then basically the rest of your stats just kind of being as low as can be, because it just doesn't matter all too much. Like obviously class would probably be your next important, so if you can have that around a 55 to 100 range, that would be awfully nice. And then maybe melee, and then grenade as your lowest ability, and super being your all-time low. The only reason I'm not too keen on super is, of course, because this build is great in Mythic. Mythic usually gives you rally barricades here and there during the story missions, and even not that, but it is pretty easy to, obviously, by the time you reach the end of activities, which is usually when you get to a boss fight, you will get your super by then just by normally playing through. So I really don't believe the super stat is that important. Now for our weapons, we're going to use the Manticore. Manticore is actually a much better exotic than people give it credit for. This allows us that when we deal damage on the ground, it will charge our anti-grav repulsors. Dealing damage while airborne will extend those repulsors and also cause us to float. And while we're airborne, over a span of 6 seconds, our damage with this gun will increase by double. Meaning if you're dealing 28 damage a shot, then it's going to be 28 times 2 with every hit. And that goes for just any number that it's hitting for. And it is really, really nice. Now, we want the Manticore Catalyst because this is going to allow us that while we are in the air, our sustained damage and final blows against difficult combatants will grant a Void Overshield. Now, this will work with any kill. It doesn't have to be a difficult combatant like it says. Any kill will give Void Overshield, and any sustained hits will also give a chunk of Overshield. It will also return ammo to the magazine, meaning we'll be able to basically stay in the air until our anti-grav just runs out. And not only that, but it's also going to further reduce combatant accuracy. So while you're airborne, enemies are going to be extremely inaccurate to you, meaning as long as you're just in the air, moving, gliding along, then enemies will almost never hit you. It is really, really insane. So you'll be able to do that and also just completely eradicate enemies from below. Of course, this is a void weapon, so it's going to get volatile rounds when we emerge from invisibility. Now for your other two weapons, you can go ahead and use whatever you would like. As you can see, I have Chill Inhibitor on because I still like that, and I have Mint Retrograde because it's such a really good kinetic slot weapon. So you can put on whatever you would like. Of course, with the glitch happening right now with Gold Tusk and Quick Fang, you could obviously put one of those on, but for this build, we just need the Manticore. Now, no build is a build without a subclass. So starting off here with our super, we're going to have on Deadfall. You can swap this for Mobius Quiver if you want, or Spectral Blades. Just Deadfall is usually the best for endgame content, but you can use whatever super you would like. For your dodge, you're going to want Gambler's Dodge. This is going to help just refund some energy to our Snare Bomb every time we use our dodge. You can also go ahead and swap this to Marksman if you really want to. The only reason why I say that is because our dodge is not like the most essential thing to this build, neither is the melee, so it is kind of okay no matter which dodge you use. I just personally prefer Gamblers because it's nice to be able to get some melee energy or potentially just get our melee back so we can throw it at an enemy, weaken them, and deal bonus damage to them. It will also disorient them, meaning you'll also take the enemies out of the fight because with disorienting, they will not be able to attack. So that's just a nice little thing. For your movement ability, aka your jump, not really sure why I put it that way, you can go ahead and use whatever you're most comfortable with. For your melee, you obviously only have Snare Bomb or Smoke Bomb as it's more commonly known as, so go ahead and leave that on because you don't really have a choice. For your grenade, you can go ahead and use whatever grenade you would like. There is none that actually matter to this build. Personally, I'm a big fan of Vortex grenade, so I'm just going to leave that one on, but you can put on any grenade you want. If you want to get a little bit of that suppression, you can put on Suppressor Grenade to help add a little more to our elemental debuff game. But other than that, any grenade is fine. Now, for our aspects, we're going to start with Vanishing Step. Part of what makes this build amazing is the ability to get volatile rounds when we emerge from invisibility. Now, of course, the only way to do that is we have to have a sure way of getting invisible to start an encounter. So with Vanishing Step, before you even begin a fight, you're going to want to go ahead and dodge and become invisible. Obviously, when you emerge, that's how you'll get volatile rounds, thanks to Gyrfalcons, our exotic of choice. Now we're going to want to pair that with Stylish Executioner. Defeating a weakened, suppressed, or volatile target, it will grant you invisibility and true sight. And it will also allow your next melee attack while you're invisible to weaken targets, but that's not the main thing we're looking at. So this is obviously a great part right here. Every time we defeat one of those volatile targets with volatile rounds, we're going to become invisible again. We're also technically going to go invisible if we defeat a target affected by a suppressor nade, our shadow shot, or our smoke bomb. But of course, since we'll be going invisible again on a volatile or any elemental debuff kill, and when we emerge by shooting, it's going to refresh our timer of volatile rounds, making Stylish Executioner extremely beneficial to the build. Now, of course, we're going to need our fragments as well. So we're going to start here with the Echo of Persistence. This is going to make Invisibility, Overshield, and Devour have increased durations. So this is going to allow us to stay invisible a little longer, so that way nobody can see us or hurt us. This is going to help us keep our Overshield up a little longer, so we get that nice sweet second health bar up. And might I add the 70% damage reduction that comes with Overshield. And this is also going to mean the Devour will stay up longer, allowing us to get a big chunk of health on every kill. Obviously get a little bit of grenade energy as well. And obviously extend Devour as well with each kill. So it's going to be extremely nice to have. Now next we're going to have Echo of Vigilance. This is going to make so that when we defeat a target when our shields are depleted, we will get a full temporary Void Overshield. Yet again, Void Overshield is a second health bar, so that's really good. And you're also going to obviously go ahead and get a 70% damage reduction while that Overshield is up. So it's going to help keep you alive, and that is the best part about it. Our third fragment of choice is going to be Echo of Starvation. This is because hunters do not have an intrinsic way in their Void subclass to get Devour. So using Echo of Starvation, it's going to allow hunters to get Devour when we pick up a Void Breach or an Orb of Power. We will obviously be creating both, and this is obviously going to be how we get Devour, and then obviously every kill while you have Devour extends itself. So once you get one, you get Devour, you almost won't even need this, but obviously if the timer runs out, you will. So Echo of Starvation is a great choice for the hunter, and obviously for this build, because without it, we're not going to be able to get Devour. And last but not least is going to be Echo of Cessation. This is going to make it so that when we defeat a volatile target, it will create a Void Breach. Now, while it does give us a second function, which is Finisher Final Blows create a burst of void damage that causes nearby combatants to become volatile, we're obviously not focusing on using a finisher, but of course, if you do, this is just going to make Gyrfalcons even better, because obviously Gyrfalcons has the other one that we're going to use, which is going to have, when you get a finisher while invisible, you will gain that Reserve Overshield. So not only are you going to get that Reserve Overshield, but you'll also make enemies volatile. So that's pretty nice, a little synergy between the exotic and this fragment. But the main reason we're going to be using this is because of that second part, which is the defeating volatile targets creates that Void Breach. The reason why we want this is obviously because Void Breaches will grant class ability energy. That will obviously help us get our Vanishing step back. But of course, picking up a Void Breach is going to activate Echo of Starvation, which will give us Devour. So that's why we want these two on, like they're going to pair together and synergize really, really well. Now, of course, every build has its armor mods. So we're going to start with ours here on the helmet. We're going to go ahead and put on a Harmonic Siphon. This is going to allow us that when we get rapid void kills, which will be the Manticore, it will create an Orb of Power. That's just obviously a really nice one. Now, for this other two slots, you can put on whatever you would like. I put on In-Flight Compensator because obviously our entire build is based on being airborne. So I thought, why not make it a little more accurate while we're in the air? You can swap this if you would like. Maybe you want Powerful Friends if you're playing with some fire team members. Obviously, give them some armor charges. Maybe you want Super Fonts. That one is up to you. So go ahead and put on whatever you would like in these two slots. For your arms, we're going to go with Firepower and Heavy-Handed. We are going to be using our Smoke Bomb. We are going to be using our Grenade, even if it's not the main part of the build. So why not get a nice little Orb of Power, which will give us some health, obviously give us Devour thanks to our Fragment, and all of that good jazz. So why not generate a little bit more Orbs of Power? And we're also going to go with a Harmonic Loader. Harmonic Loader is going to increase the reload speed of Void Weapons, which is the Manticore. This is obviously going to help us get more hits in a shorter time frame, which is going to allow us to charge up our anti-grav or allow us to stay in the air longer. Now for the chest piece, you can go ahead and put on 3 resistance mods of whatever you would like. So if you want it to look like this, you can go ahead and do that. Personally, I like to run 2 resistances with this build and then an emergency reinforcement. Since we're always going to basically be at 3 or more armor charges, we are always going to be able to proc emergency reinforcement. This is an amazing one because should our shields become broken, we gain a little bit of time with damage reduction. Obviously, this is just immediately amazing because the second that shield breaks, you're going to be able to take a few more hits before you go down. This is going to help on solo runs, it's going to help on mythic missions, high difficulty, so that's why I like to run this one. And then obviously 2 resistance mods that matches the activity that you're going into. Like I said though, should you want to put 3 resistances of whatever elements or kind of resistance to dampeners, whatever you need, go ahead and do that as well. It's up to your personal choice, but make sure that the element of your resistances or the type of the dampeners are going to be obviously matching the activity that you're doing. And for your boots, we're going to put on an elemental charge. This is going to make it so when we collect void breaches, it will give us an escalating chance to give us an armor charge. This is amazing because we're going to be creating a ton of void breaches. And obviously, picking them up are going to now give us armor charge, and we don't have to only solely rely on those orbs of power. This is how we're also going to keep up our armor charges so much that we're going to get a ton of emergency reinforcements. And to pair it with elemental charge, we're going to put on 2 void weapon surges. This is going to give us a 17% damage increase to void weapons, which will obviously be even your heavy slot if you have it on, but of course the Manticore. Manticore is going to receive 17% bonus damage from this, and don't forget that while you're in the air for up to 6 seconds and then longer, you will actually deal double damage with Manticore. So this is going to allow you to literally deal an insane amount of damage. And for your class item, our cape, we're going to use a powerful attraction. While we're not exactly using our dodge the most, because obviously we'll be airborne a lot of the time, this is still a great one because when we do use that dodge, it will pull in the orbs for us. Obviously, those orbs will count for armor charges, which is going to be really nice, and give us Devour, so it's a way to kind of reset the Devour timer almost every time when we use our dodge, as long as there's an orb near it, so it's a really nice one to have. After that, since we do have 2 things that proc into using a finisher, with our Fragment that will make nearby enemies volatile, and our exotic, which will give us that reserve overshield, I figured why not give us a 3rd thing that benefits our finisher, which is proximity ward. This will basically make you immune to all damage when you're performing a finisher. This is obviously a really nice one to have. So while you're doing that finisher, you don't have to worry about dying. And you can kind of use it as a scapegoat. Should you be reaching critical, should you be about to die, and you're kind of panicking, you can go ahead and hit a finisher, and that gives you a little bit of time to cool off. And last but not least, we're going to pair this all with Reaper. So that way, after we use our class ability for a short time, our next weapon kill is going to give us an orb of power. This is obviously a very nice one to have, as we'll be able to dodge pretty frequently, so why not on our next Manticore kill generate a guaranteed orb. So this build is future proof, meaning once this current artifact, the Implement of Curiosity, rotates out, the build will still be just as good as you've seen. In other words, the artifact mods only enhance the build but do not make the build. So if there is a future artifact by the time you're watching this, just put on any that will benefit things like elemental pickups, specifically void breaches, and will buff any void elemental buffs or debuffs, such as volatile/volatile rounds, invisibility, overshield, devour, and those kind of things. Now, with the Implement of Curiosity, there are about 4 mods that will enhance this build. And we're going to start here with the first one, which will be Refresh Threads. Refresh Threads is going to make it so that when we pick up an elemental pickup matching our subclass element, which will be Void, it will grant us energy to our least charged ability. So picking up a Void Breach is going to give us a little bit of ability energy. And we're going to match that with Elemental Coalescence. This is going to make it so when we defeat targets, we'll have a chance to create an elemental pickup matching our equipped super. Obviously that's Void, so this is going to help us create more Void Breaches. Then we're going to pair that with Elemental Overdrive, which is picking up an elemental pickup, aka Void Breach, will grant increased damage to weapons of the same element. Yet again, this is going to be amazing because this will stack with the Manticore's damage bonus, which is when you're in the air for 6 seconds or over, it will deal like double damage. So this is going to enhance the Manticore even more. This is why we want to take anything that enhances the Manticore's damage, such as the weapon stat and things like Surges and now Elemental Overdrive. And last but not least, Shield Crush is a nice option. This will allow us that when we have our Void Overshield, which we will have a lot of the time, your melee will recharge faster and deal increased damage. So this is going to allow us to throw some more smoke bombs than we normally would, and they'll allow the smoke bombs to deal more damage. So with all of that put together, you make this insane build. Yet again, this build is absolutely crazy. It just allows you to sit in the air, but make enemies less accurate to you, which is why it doesn't like just instantly kill you. You're not a pinata because of the benefit of Manticore, where enemies are less accurate. So you're able to just rain down Void Hellfire of just infinite volatile rounds. You're also going to get Overshield on every kill. You'll get health via Devour on every kill. You'll technically also probably get invisibility on every kill thanks to Stylish Executioner because you'll be defeating volatile targets. It is absolutely insane. This build literally just puts together the greatest stuff of the Void subclass with both buffs and debuffs and lets you just go crazy with them. So obviously put this build together as soon as possible. It is absolutely insane. It will help you get through Mythic or any other difficulty, whether it's in the portal or Mythic, Kepler, or anything of that sort. But with all of that being said, that's the end of the video. Let me know in the comments below what you think about this build, genuinely. And while you're down there, if you like the video, why not hit the like button, subscribe, comment, share, all that good jazz, because it lets me know you like these build videos, and I like making them, so we're going to keep going. With all of that, I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day. Thank you for watching, and as always, I will see you around the tower.